That is all. Will you take the time for me? Our Christian names? Is that all? We are going to be Christian this afternoon. For me? You are prepared to do this terrible thing? I am!
Please me, you're willing to face this fearful ordeal.
I am! How foolish to speak of the equality of the sexes when matters of self-sacrifice are concerned. Men are infinitely beyond us. We are!
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling! Darling! Good heavens!
Gwendolen, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Sit down. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed at once by a luggage train. You will understand, of course, Mr. Worthing, that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon! Yes, Aunt Augusta? May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides? No. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at the present. In fact, Bunbury is dead. When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden. Bunbury has exploded! I killed Bunbury the I mean, Bunbury died this afternoon. I should say that the doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died. Really? He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind to some definite course of action and acted under the proper medical advice. And now that we have buried Mr. Bunbury at last, may I ask Mr. Worthing, whose hand my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to me to be a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That, Lady Bracknell, is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta! I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I don't know if there is anything peculiarly exciting about the air of this part of Hertfordshire, but the amount of engagements that go on seems to me to be considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our finance. I believe some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing! Who is Mr. Worthing? Who is Miss Cardew?
Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Spore in Fifthshire, NB.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even among tradesmen. So far I am satisfied.
And I also have in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, registration, baptism, confirmation, whooping cough, vaccination, and the measles, both the German and English variety.
A life crowded with incident, though perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I myself am not in favour of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a minute to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask if Miss Cardew possesses any small fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all, so pleased to have seen you, Lady Bracknell.
A moment, Mr. Worthing! £130,000! And in the funds. Miss Cardew seems to be a most attractive young lady now that I've looked at her. Come here, dear. Sweet child, your dress is sadly simple and your hair looks as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a marvelous result in a very brief space of time. I recommended one once to young Lady Lancing, and in 3 months her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn round, sweet child. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't care 2 pence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully about society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Dear child, you must know that Algernon has only his debts to depend upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of letting that stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I am not in favour of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's characters before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon! But this engagement is quite out of the question. Miss Cardew is my ward, and she cannot marry without my consent. So she comes of age. And that consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask?
Please me very much to speak quite frankly with you about your nephew. But I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He's an Oxonian.
I fear there is no possible doubt in the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence on an important question of romance, he obtained admission into my house under a false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he managed during the course of the day to alienate the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is he knew perfectly well I do not have a brother, and I never had a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so, and so yesterday afternoon.
Ahem. Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct to you. Come here, sweet child. How old are you, dear?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties.
Well, soon you will be of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I don't consider your guardian's consent after all a matter of any importance.
Prez! Excuse me for interrupting you again, but it is only fair for me to tell you that according to her grandfather's will, she only comes of age at 35.
That seems to me to be no grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth who have of their own free choice remained 35 for years.
Algie, could you wait for me till I'm 35? Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could. Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I couldn't wait all that long. What is to be done, Cecily? I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems